want to.
All right. Good afternoon. It is 1:30 p.m. on July 6th. It's a special meeting of the Board of Commissioners. If you would please rise. Pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Quickly, Mr. Chair, if I may.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm going to be in and out. I have a Regional Solutions video conference call on two big issues, the Fire Training Center and offshore wind energy, so I'm going to have to leave in about 20 minutes. I'll try and come back and forth if that's okay with the board. I appreciate it very much.
All right. Do we have any amendments to the agenda? Hearing none, do I have a motion?
I move we approve the agenda as written.
Second, Mr. Chair.
Further discussion? Roll, please.
Commissioner Gold.
Aye.
Vice Chair Boyce.
Yes?
Chair Pash.
Aye.
Motion carried unanimously.
All right, so under action item 3, we are going to have a wage adjustment for county employees. Ms. Schmelzer?
Okay, so I did share with the board basically where we're at this point. We had workshops on the matter. We spent a lot of time on this. We do have some final charts, wage tables. You've reviewed those. You've reviewed the master payroll. We've also went through and looked at each department and how we would be able to pay for the salary increases. So I shared that with you as well. My recommendation to the board is that they approve it, the new wage study and the master payroll. We do have some things to discuss though as we go through though, and I'm just going to touch on those in the order that I have them. So one is basically, does the board approve the 3% step increases? You've already approved the COLA, so it's really a matter of you approving what was in the handout given to you, or basically tab 3, which showed what the differences would be, and we had the charts in there. So that would be the first thing to decide.
Have any comments?
I just appreciate that you went through and figured out what the difference between the old salary, if we kept everything frozen, versus if we put in the increases, your wage study.
Kind words, but Julie Swift did a tremendous amount of work on trying to get those charts all lined up and
Thank
getting
you,
those
Julie.
3% in there. So,
Well, we got the name right
It was
anyway.
teamwork.
Julie.
Okay.
and then what I added to it was the piece to show how we would pay for it. So,
I think that's important.
yeah, I think so too.
Are we having any motions?
Before we go, Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
You know, I appreciate the extra 3 days, 4 days, whatever we had to review this. And I'm going to repeat what I said the last meeting. There are so many things going on within our country, within our state. I mean, we have some serious economic rebuilding and recovery to do for our citizens here locally. I asked for a 90-day extension. I didn't officially ask for that, but I certainly referenced it. There is a gap, I believe, between the citizens and government employees at all levels, and I think our responsibility is trying to figure a way to close that gap, and this doesn't do that. It just, real or perceived, it makes people feel like they have and we don't have. We got restaurants going out of business. We've got, our timber revenues are down. I appreciate the revenue forecast that Director Schmelzer offered. I served in the legislature, though. The revenue forecast was a big battle. Gap between the taxpayers, the citizens, and county government, a bureaucracy that is growing here that I didn't see the first 2 years I was here. And I had one employee say, you know, people drive by and they see all the private cars here, all the county cars, and they assume the worst. And that's a battle, at least a challenge that we have to accept and try and mitigate, try and bring the citizens together, especially now. And we talk about wage increases, almost automatic. I think I think, again, it sends the wrong message. We're going to know a lot more about what our country's doing, what our state is doing, what our revenues are going to be in the next 3 months, 90 days. We saw what happened on PILT. State of Oregon is $2 billion down right now. $2 billion? $2,000 million down. We were so optimistic and saw evidence that our timber revenue was going to go up with much better and improved forest management, and now the market is down. I'm very concerned for the 2 mills we have in our county here. So I just think the timing on this, I'm asking the board, I'm going to have to oppose it today and just ask for that minimum of 90 days, and we're going to be able to assess and wisely have a better prediction on where we are on this. So as the government grows, county level, again, real or perceived, I think that's a huge task for us. Thank you for that time, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Melzer, what are the total numbers on this?
I don't have the total numbers in front of me unless Julie does, maybe.
Are you looking at differences?
Yeah, well, I saw what you have there. This is for all departments then, right?
Mm-hmm. But the bottom line is here. This is possible revenue coming in. This is what we know
Whatever
for
was
sure
there
right
the first
now.
time.
Okay.
We had an extra amount of 402,000.
So the CAFA, when are we looking for that to arrive?
My understanding is that it did get approved, and Jim was waiting to bring it to the board. So is that correct, Jim?
Public comments today.
CAFA grant has been approved by this board and it's been approved by the Department of Revenue, and that usually comes to the county in 4 installments during the year.
Okay. So everything has been approved on that one.
And it was approved.
Did not budget an extra 400 that came in with the PILT funds last year, 402,000. So that 402,000, as I talked to you earlier today, would cover this. So I don't know whether we want to go for 3 years or 1 year. This would cover it for 1 year.
I think part of my concern with this is what happened the other day with the PILT money. That really frightened me. They shorted us $900 and some thousand for PILT. And,
Yeah.
And after seeing a lot of the banter back and forth between Washington and Salem today and over the weekend, I don't know as we're going to be able to do any better next year. They're saying this might be the new norm. So even if we had a balanced budget, which we knew we weren't going to have after COVID hit because of the shortfalls in a lot of departments, with the PILT shortage as well, I just see us pushing a boulder uphill right now to give raises. I would like to. What I would like to do, I don't agree with Commissioner Boyce with the 90 days, but I would probably like to see this if we could agree to maybe bring it back in 60 days. And that way there we'll have a better assessment of the next quarter with the parks. We'll have a better assessment of, sorry. Our sheriff is having fun.
Oh.
But to have a little bit better assessment of what's going on in the county. I understand that it's hard to find, good help in some areas, and we could look at this also as retroactive once we see how everything lays out. But to put 7 figures plus in the wind right now, to me, it's just, I think it's a little premature for this, and I would like to see things shake out for another month or two. So I don't know if the board wants to bring it back in 30 days, 60 days, however we'd like to vote on it, whatever the motion would be. But I don't think we need to wait 90, but that's up to the boards on their vote. Commissioner Boyce?
Thank you again. Hey, I'll compromise at 60 days. I think we're going to know. We're going to have much better data to analyze. And you said something interesting. I want to make sure I understood. And probably this is a question for either Director Smelzer or Director Swift, could be still 60 days from now retroactive? A lot of headaches?
We can go retroactive. It does cause a lot of headaches with the master payroll,
Oh.
which has to be adopted before the first pay period, which is Wednesday. So I suppose you could adopt the master payroll minus...
Step increase. Teamsters 206, which is the road department, hasn't given us a response on their feeling on the wage study. So,
I have
but
their-
their okay,
Yeah, I do.
but their contract also called for 3% COLA, and if steps are unfrozen for non-reps and SEIU, they would then get their full step. So it kind of leaves us in a little bit of limbo, and I just need a direction on how to do the first payroll from you, basically.
And quick.
Yeah.
Well, and then the other thing is we'd want to make sure that so if we approve the master payroll minus the steps, minus the anniversary, just, that does include the raises for the elected officials. Because that's
That was a
already been
separate
approved.
order.
That was a separate order, and that's already been approved.
Yeah.
Can we stay that as well, or?
I don't know if this county has ever revoked orders. They passed new orders.
Do that.
Yes, you could.
Which elected officials are getting raises?
Everybody but the
Everybody-
commissioners.
You wanted that in there.
Yeah.
Commissioners
Just
get
wanted to
a-
make sure everybody was clear on that.
Yeah.
There's a small insurance benefit in there for the commissioners, but
Nice.
the compensation committee and the budget committee approved raises for
Nice.
the other elected officials.
Well, if the employees are not getting raises, I don't think the electeds should.
Well, we already have. That was, right?
Yeah,
That's
that
done.
was last meeting.
And that was a minor, overall, pretty minor. Sure.
$27,000.
There's also a procedure for changing the salaries of elected officials. The compensation board, and it's kind of complicated, but
Yes,
Yes,
Chair,
Commissioner
I'm ready
Boyce,
to
go
make a
ahead.
motion.
Give me just a minute, please.
Certainly.
So again, the master payroll, as I've written it, would be incorrect. Because we included
So
all
you'd have to
this.
go back and do the original pay, the old salary, and then put the cost of living increase in there, and then the step.
But right now,
Negotiated annual salary increases. And by that, he means the union the contract does talk about 3% increases. And then it says, the union is concerned that our current step increase language in Article 21 of our agreement does not contain an evaluation standard that, if not met, would result in the denial of an annual step increase. It appears that the imposition of this additional condition and hurdle to receiving a step increase would violate our agreement, which I found interesting because my understanding is they do evaluations. So, but I suppose it's not part of the contract. The union understands that the wage table for road department employees contains a 5% difference between steps. Will this remain unchanged according to the proposal? And he was incorrect on that because the proposal was 3% between steps.
Mr. Christensen, could you do me a favor and come up to the microphone, please?
I have about 2 minutes, Mr. Chair. I'll try and get back as quickly as I'm going to make a presentation.
I'm just kind of wondering what kind, I understand your situation, and I understand the time, the constraints you're under to find people, but you've told me that you had a couple of people leave that you're not sure you're going to refill those slots right now. Is it possible to fill some of that spread, because of the difference in salaries? You could spread that?
It's possible. I'd have to look at that, and
I'm not into taking food off of people's
right.
plate either, but we've got to do what's best for everyone here.
Right. Well, the road department, as you know, it went without raises or COLAs, step increases for like 9 years, and that's why I'm in the position that I am right now. But what I was trying to do was look at reorganizing the team and dropping a couple positions to help with these raises. And so I'd still like to do that. Road department's in a little bit different area than the rest of the county because we get no general fund dollars or local tax money. Our funding is the state and federal, and we have the reserve. And so, because of what we've been doing here the last few years, we have a union now that we never used to have, and it was just so the employees felt they could get raises. But I appreciate anything you could do because I would really like to fill a couple of vacant positions, other positions that I can't locally compete.
I understand. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Colon, any constraints in your office if we wait a little bit here? I mean, I know we're not going to make anyone happy if we wait, but I'm not like I just told him, I'm not into taking people's food off their plate, but we've got some serious financial issues.
Losing some of our more experienced and more talented employees. I can tell you with regards to the assessor's office and tax collector's office, we retain employees because most of them are tied to the community, otherwise tied to the community. And that's one thing, but they still need to be able to feed themselves like you mentioned.
Okay.
So I understand that you're in a difficult position. I guess that's all that I have to say about that.
Thank you, sir.
Right now.
Any further comments? Commissioner Gold?
I think we also need to look at the true rate of inflation. If anybody's been to the grocery store recently, you know that things have gone sky high. So when you talk about taking food off people's table,
Right.
I guess essentially we would be doing that by not giving them raises, so.
Commissioner Boyce?
There's just a greater responsibility, even an obligation for us to find additional revenue, and I think that's from a consumption tax. I don't know what other options we have. Raising property tax, I don't think any of us will support that. But there is a lot of money coming over the Delaware County border where they can still save money, particularly shopping in Brookings. So maybe this will nudge us. I brought it up twice in the last 4 years and couldn't get support. And so maybe it's time.
Well, I think it's prudent that we just stand fast for just a short period of time and let's see what's going to shake out with the state and the federal government in the coming weeks and month or so, and hopefully we'll see some more positive numbers. I'm seeing the jobs numbers go up last week by 11 million.
I thought it was 14.
Was it 14? I'm sorry.
But not so much in Oregon.
I was cautiously optimistic that we've turned the corner here, so I'd like to see, and driving down 101 the other day a few times, seeing all the people in the county, that was very very promising for a revenue source anyway. So did you have a motion?
Motion to delay, continue, table for 60 days, this discussion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Further discussion? Roll, please.
Commissioner Gold,
Aye.
Vice Chair Boyce,
Yes.
Chair Pash.
Aye.
Motion carried unanimously.
Right, and that was my
Yes.
question. COLA? Do
We
you,
already adopted the COLA.
Okay,
We've already
okay.
adopted the COLA. I
okay,
think.
so non-reps get the COLA. And and 206 then is a 3%. But no steps for them right now because their contract says steps unfrozen for non-reps and SEIU.
Well, isn't the SEIU contract, what we agreed was they would get something this year, right?
SEIU, yeah.
So they're
Yes.
getting a step, so I think we're gonna have to
Road has to get it
give
as
the
well.
road a step.
That's automatic, yeah.
But the road contract says non-reps and SEIU. And if you're not giving them to non-reps.
You're correct. You're correct. It does. I have it right here.
Yep.
It says, I'll just read you the wording. Each employee shall, step increases will not occur during the term of this agreement unless the step freeze is lifted for SEIU and non-represented employees. So basically, because we did a step increase with SEIU, It would be eligible for road as well if non-reps did it. And to be honest with you, if that's the case, the only people not getting the raise are the non-reps, so they're the small portion of it, so why not approve it, I guess,
So,
when I'm
question,
looking at it.
what difference is it going to make
I really, yeah, I mean,
by the time we're done with all of this? What is going to be the difference? Pretty minuscule, I would think.
it is because it's going to be the non-rep employees.
Which is a group of about 30 employees. 33 employees, but many are topped out.
Yeah, many are in longevity or in programs where they're seeing revenues coming in. Like emergency management, part of that salary is paid. Same thing with veterans, economic development.
So in essence, we could go forward with the master payroll order as written, adjust the Exhibit A for the COLA amount at July 1, because that's all we do on the master payroll, and just at this point not implement the wage study. Is that right?
Well, unless the board just voted not to do it, but knowing that the only ones not knowing the only ones that aren't going to be impacted are non-reps.
That's what I'm saying. Leave the master payroll as written with those COLAs and steps for people written into it, and then put the wage study in later if desired. So I don't know if you have the master payroll order in front of you.
We don't have an order in front of us.
Whatever JJ had in the packet from the first one.
So the order would be there, and then Exhibit A is the list of employees.
Oh, the whereases, yeah, I had that.
In my head.
But
It would be, well, no, because I included the new wage studies in the example.
Well, so let's
It would
look
be
at,
less. It would be less than what we
It's
did
gonna
with
be
the
less, yeah.
example.
right.
Well, you look at your non-reps, you have, Tracy Gardner in the assessor's office, but her salary is covered. You have Jeremy, you have Summer, you have Tony, you have Anthony. Those are all covered by other sources.
You got Wendy Lang.
She's partially covered, but her Chet Brewer would be expenses to us.
Myself.
My salary, you, John.
JJ.
Yep.
I mean, we know the SEIU portion because that was all part of our negotiations.
I guess for me, what I'd like to see, I like to see apples to apples kind of a thing. So if we could have both printed out so you can look at them so we know exactly what we're comparing to. I don't know if it's a matter of just plugging numbers in or if you have to go back and change each one. And
So the biggest change is going to be the wage study piece of it. And that dollar amount for what those wages are. Because like I said, some of the non-rep people are already topped out, so it's not going to make a difference as far as steps for them.
Julie, how long would it take to pull that together? I mean, like an hour?
Probably longer than that. I mean,
Well, I've got all the names here.
I have a
Could we
question.
go through and underline them?
It goes back to something Commissioner Gold said, and Commissioner, we do the weight or the salary schedule every year. Our union agreement is a 3-year agreement with SEIU, I think, and maybe Rhodes is for another 2, perhaps. But Commissioner Gold indicated that the number she saw would cover, the existing numbers would cover a year. The question I have is the salary schedule like I guess that is establishing the wages, but it's only a year. So the salary schedule that you prepared that was to be adopted last week and that's continued to today, that we also continued to, 90 days from now or something?
60.
60 days.
60. That salary schedule, according to what Commissioner Gold said, is covered by the current,
And lock your doors, or are we going to start to open this economy up and get this country rolling again?
okay?
So I think in 60 days, we should have a little bit broader view of that. You know, I'd like to know, I mean, how much of the difference of the salary, if we did the increase, is covered by the CAFA versus general fund money? You know, how much of it is covered by grants and all that versus general fund money?
And I think Julie had that on her schedule.
Yeah, and that's what was emailed out last Thursday. It was showing, basically, the CAFA grant is kind of like the savior because that money that was being used previously to pay those salaries is now going to be covered by the CAFA grant.
What I saw here was about $125,000 difference from the CAFA grant to general fund. Am I correct?
More like 150.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
I have a question for Julie Swift.
This is if we get all the grants. This is with
The requirement to adopt the master salary schedule, do you have in front of you at all the ORS that,
I don't, but
Okay.
it's on the order itself, which I don't have with me.
okay? I've got that order.
I believe it has the ORS on there.
if we don't use the money through the CAFA grant, what happens to the money?
If we don't use the CAFA grant money?
We don't use it then, right? I mean, we don't get it.
Yeah, I would think that if we don't use that, it would go back to the state, but
Yeah, John, it's
we
not
can,
on.
No, it's not.
we can see that the CAFA grant, we'll definitely use the CAFA grant money.
We did last year.
Yeah, I mean, it's less than what the overall budget is, so it'll be used to, and it's, you know, that helps with BOPTA, that helps with treasurer, that helps with
Okay.
assessment and taxation.
I think we're in a conundrum here. And I'm kind of looking at this to see, you know, what would the difference be between, we're already stuck with the union.
I just have to go back through the, well, but this, I'd have to go back to the previous salary schedules. I mean, I have them figured, I just have to go and plug all
Could you
the
have it
numbers
later
in.
today if we recess for a couple hours?
Probably could.
Why don't we recess this, there's 2 o'clock now, why don't we recess till 4 o'clock and we'll reconvene at 4 o'clock?
And I've got a problem. I've got a medical appointment
okay.
at 4, so. I'm looking at this, and could you just go through, and I'm just kind of marking off those non-union people.
Necessarily-
Right, but you
not
can't-
necessarily committing to the step increases for 3 years, because we still don't have the new salary study
Yeah,
in.
making a commitment for 3 years is kind of hard, but 1 year, I think we could do it. But
Well, and that's because we have the excess in the PILT money that we got from last year
Right.
that we have in reserve,
Right.
correct?
Well, I didn't even figure that in there. But you can add an extra 400,000. I didn't figure it in there because I figured we'd want to
Right.
technically reserve it for the shortfall that's coming.
Right.
I have a question for Jim. If we were colon, you'd have to come up to the microphone, I guess. If we were to go back to the regular salaries, is that going to cause a problem with the CAFA grant?
No, the CAF grant was applied for using
The union,
the existing salary study
okay,
or the existing salary schedule, I should say, to make it less confusing.
okay.
Could we see if we can get Commissioner Boyce back in here for 5 minutes?
Sure.
Thank you. Mr. Barnes, I know you had a comment. We didn't have any public comments on the agenda today.
Looks like he's waving it off anyway. I guess what we really need is a magic wand here that we can just print our own money or something.
Well, I like having the 300 and some or 400 and some thousand dollars in reserves on the PILT money,
Oh, totally agree.
but I like having employees that are being paid what they're worth too.
Well, and it's really hard because you've got the non-represented employees getting nothing, and
Representatives are getting what they want.
yeah, and that bothers me.
Do you have a couple minutes? Well, where we are with this right now is we've all sat and talked about this a little bit more, and correct me if I'm wrong, Ms. Swift or Ms. Schmelzer, but basically where we are right now is Commissioner Gold has made and Council Huddle has made some sense to me that looking at this to do it as a one-year event with a non-continuing event without, of course, readdressing it, we're about $130,000 short because the CAFA grant is automatic. We have the CAFA grant, and it's money that we're going to get no matter what. So the short
Would be adopting the salary schedule that you had prepared for the last meeting that I understand included the wage studies.
Correct.
yes.
And
Correct.
with that, it would only be for a year. We would, according to Commissioner Pash's review, would be roughly have a $135,000 shortfall, but according to Director Schmelzer, there's $440,000 in the PILT reserve that may be used to cover
Actually,
that.
it's 402,000.
Okay, 402. So, I don't know, Commissioner Gold, did that track your numbers as well, that summary?
Yes.
I just wanted your thoughts and opinion on it.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We're still going to make payroll 12 months from now, right? And there's so much unknown. It is certainly worth considering. You know, I've stated why I have this apprehension. The 60-day, did we rescind that, or do we need to?
We would need to if we do this.
Okay, thank you. No, I'm going to stand firm. It's a tough call. But I might feel completely different in 2 months. I'm watching the state legislature and the whole accounting system there, and I mean, I see a cliff coming. And you've stated it in the past, and I think stated it well, the concerns you have long term. So, yeah, I feel like I've got to stay with my 60-day, give us that time. There's a lot of good things that are happening. There's a lot of good things that could happen that could help us with our decision. But I'm just concerned the message it sends to the people out there that are trying to figure out how in the heck they're going to eat right now. And it is that serious in Curry County and most of Oregon, not just rural. So I appreciate you bringing it back in very much, and I listen carefully and respect the decisions here, or the opinions here. But my decision is going to have to, stand on at least give us that 60 days.
Do you have anything further, Commissioner?
There's another possibility. Implement this for, say, 6 months. Would that be possible? And then relook at it in 6 months, and if things are really bad, just have to rescind it. I mean, that's another possibility. We're up against a rock and a hard place right now.
And we can, excuse me, go ahead. We can sort that all out in the next 2 months. Could.
Well, I understand there might be a burden for the work to get done to do this, but I think I'm going to stay as well with my original decision to hold this for 60 days and go back to the old pay with whatever provisions were made.
That necessarily needs to be in an order.
That's in the wage study order. So the one that, the order that adopts the wage adjustment also includes language about the 40 hours.
But if we're going to put that off for 60 days, how does that affect your 40-hour people?
Well, the board already passed an order back in July that everybody's supposed to be working 40 hours. So I think we're covered on that.
Okay, good. Good.
So Julie, so your payroll, going back to the old way, does it show the increase for the SEIU employees that they're getting? Or is that going to have to be added?
That's been negotiated and it's in the budget, but it's not showing on that Exhibit A.
Okay,
so that Exhibit A is going to have to change.
Okay.
Yep.
So the statute on 294-250 sub 3 says once each year the county shall publish the actual individual gross monthly salary of all regular officers and employees occupying budgeted positions. And it just says they'll identify each budgeted position by the title of the position. And it doesn't, it says once each year. So it doesn't say at least once each year, but I'm assuming, you know, that we could, that's a minimum, and I would think you could do it more than once a year. And I'm not sure if that is, you know, setting anything in stone either. That doesn't really seem like it makes that much sense. So if we adopt a master payroll, publish the actual individual gross monthly salary of all regular officers in budgeted positions, is that the current salary that officer is making at that point in time and not the range?
At July, correct.
So even assuming we adopt a master payroll, over the year, if someone gets increases, that number is going to change. So that's just a snapshot?
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
Correct.
All right. Well, I'm just not sure that the master payroll adoption is locking us into anything in that respect. So it just seems like it's really a piece of information for us to publish to the public.
I agree with that. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
And commissioners years ago added to have the benefits show also, and that's not even a requirement. All they have to show is
Gross monthly salary.
gross monthly salary.
Okay.
So we give a lot more information than we need to.
Commissioner Boyce, do you have anything further?
Thank you. This is just a process, and we have to have this study. The reality of that is very helpful and beneficial, and it shows, I think, that we're trying to move the county forward in a variety of ways. But we also have a strong responsibility to help improve the lives of everybody in the county. And so giving us that extra 60 days. Also to hear from department heads, other elected officials, they're having trouble.
No, I thought we were going to go back,
In 60 days, we have to reevaluate.
but I thought we were evaluating implementing the wage study. I thought we were going to stay with the
That's my understanding.
COLA and the steps at anniversary based on the old salary schedules.
Correct.
That's my understanding.
As the master payroll is written with an amended Exhibit A, because I think I just did that as draft anyway.
But SEIU still gets a 3% based on the old scale.
Right, that's,
Yeah.
yeah. So everybody will get a 3% COLA and a full 5% step increase at anniversary.
Except for those that are termed out or limited
Yeah.
out.
Just in SEIU.
No, I think we're talking about all employees.
No, because roads and non-rep aren't going to get a 5% step increase.
Well, that's what I thought we were talking about, was giving the non-reps the 5% so that would free up the road to get theirs.
In 60 days, they wanted to look at it.
No, I was looking at to implement the wage study in 60 days.
Yeah.
Right. So by waiting 60 days to implement the wage study, what that means is current SEIU employees, per their agreement, will get a step increase. Road and non-reps will not.
But I think I think they're two different animals. So the master payroll order has in it that each category of employees will get the 3% and the step at anniversary and whatever insurance change was negotiated.
Mm-hmm.
And then in 60 days, they were going to come back and revisit whether to implement the new wages into the employees. But let me ask you this, and it would be retroactive to July 1 possibly, or it doesn't have to be. But my question is then, if you implement the wage study with 3% between steps, and you've got other people that are starting to get a 5% step,
Then you got a problem.
then what happens?
What? Yeah. Where is the 5% step coming from?
That's what current steps
The
are.
old wage.
Current full step is 5% on the
New
on
wage
the
study is
old
3% across
schedules.
the board.
Sure, but the master payroll is just a snapshot in time.
Mhm.
I don't understand the master payroll to establish steps.
The master payroll order
Mm-hmm.
establishes steps, not the Excel spreadsheet. That's your snapshot at July, but the master payroll order establishes who gets what through the year.
It says what range you're at, what step you're at.
Okay.
So if you look at the order itself, John,
Yeah.
that establishes for each category of employees what they're going to get through the year.
The order that was in the packet last July 1, just last week.
Yes.
I don't know that there's going to be that much difference by the time.
So what it says is that the employees listed on A shall be classified and compensated as described in A, and that's the spreadsheet. Then the language says the schedules attached here to or part hereof shall be adopted effective July 1 and continue until the board deems appropriate. So it shows it can be changed later. 2, employees and elected officials shall continue to pay their 6% PERS. Then it says commissioners shall not receive an increase, remain at 68,463. The sheriff shall receive 5% COLA and shall be paid 95,691. And the other elected officials will get a 4% COLA, assessor 69,564, clerk 68,662, treasurer 68,047. and the county shall contribute up to $1,300 to medical and dental and vision insurance. And it says non-reps shall receive a COLA of 3% and shall receive step increases on their anniversary. So it doesn't say what percentage of a step increase. And then it says they'll get $1,300 to insurance.
Doesn't say a full or a half.
It just says shall receive a step increase on their anniversary. A question for you is that then an unfreezing of steps?
Yes.
Okay, and that language was intended to correspond with my understanding, the Exhibit A, which showed a 3% step.
Yeah.
Exhibit A doesn't necessarily show a step.
Okay.
Exhibit A shows what everybody's at July 1 with a 3% COLA, and if somebody's eligible for a step increase at July 1, then it would include that in there.
So
But it did incorporate
There's two spreadsheets on that Exhibit A. At least there was in my original Excel sheet. One is current, no COLA, no step, no nothing. One is based on the new wage schedule with the COLA and the steps at anniversary on everybody. But if it's the PDF version, there's only one.
I'm looking at a PDF version.
So
I believe there's only one.
Yeah.
And so in this one, is this showing, let me just see if I can.
It's going to show the 3% COLA, and if someone's eligible at July 1 for a step, it would be in there. Based on,
Yeah, the step just has a notation 21316. I wish we could almost pull this up on the.
Commissioner Gold?
So, Julie, what I really want to know, since we're already bound by these union contracts, if we were to implement the wage study, just as we were looking at, versus having to do the union contracts, what would be the difference? Do you understand what I'm saying?
I missed that. So you,
Okay.
So the wage
The
study,
unrepresented are the ones that are basically
the SEIU, and what the two categories are, that's easy.
How long?
And what the two categories are, that's easy.
How long?
How long would that take you to do?
That's pretty easy. I could knock that out probably within
15
an hour.
minutes?
Half
20
an hour?
Half an hour? Sounds good. I say let's do it, because I'd rather make a really informed decision.
So why don't we go ahead and recess until, that'll give you enough time, if we do it right at 3? It'll only take 5 minutes.
Yeah,
Right at 3 o'clock.
we're pushing it, but we'll do it.
This is what, 72? Same with the other funds. Previously it was 227.5. Now it's 70,003. So about 150,000 for non-reps and road department.
So earlier we talked about the difference of about $135,000, which would be this new wage study program with everything in it. With this information, what do you think the difference would be for the non-reps and all that? We're only talking about 35 or 40,000. We estimated?
Well, if you got 385.8 total to 156.4 for SCIU, so the difference of that is going to be about 130,000 for the non-reps and road department.
Right. We're just talking SCIU right now.
Well, that's what I gave you was the SCIU numbers to look at the difference. The balance would be road department and non-rep. that match?
And that's because we have to give SEIU an increase for the contract.
That's 18 employees.
Got 23 now. 23 to 25. Yeah, so your difference, just from rough numbers, just quick, it looks like your road department and your non-reps is going to be about 130,000 bottom line.
Julian, how much of that is the road department?
Well, I didn't do road department and SEIU.
Ballpark.
Well, road department, let me see. Road department was 110,000 for the initial difference. So that would be, so the non-reps are going to be about $30,000.
About 30.
So, the only other two-year commitment is in the labor agreement with the SEIU. I think we'd have to reopen with them.
Right.
And we still have a year on the road and Teamsters on
Yeah.
that.
So I'm talking about the non-reps.
Yeah.
And
The non-reps aren't, those are flexible. The road is a separate source, so I think, to consider that, and then and then the 220, the sheriff, I suppose, they have one more year. So, really, a year from now, you can change the master payroll again. So and again, the master payroll is only a snapshot, and I've given the order to you at your places to review, and if you look at I think it's the first page of the order. Because the statute just says once a year you have to do this. What it says here on on whereas number B, I think it says, until such time as the Board of Commissioners deems it appropriate. So in other words, this is just a snapshot. If we have to come back and rejigger it, I believe the statute allows us to. It's just a publication to let people know what we're doing. I don't see it as a binding promise of continued future wage for anyone, except for, again, the labor negotiation agreements.
okay.
And then I have a question about that. In the labor negotiation agreements, I'm pretty sure they reference the salary and benefit package, or I think we actually have to negotiate with them every time. For instance, in the roads, if we adopt this master payroll, we still have to negotiate, I think, the agreement with the roads. It seems like they had a lot of questions about the impact of this action on the labor agreement. Isn't that true?
Right, those were the ones I read through earlier.
Rules on reconsideration is that any person, you must have voted in the affirmative on the motion or in the majority to ask for reconsideration. So any one of you could ask for reconsideration of that 60-day continuation.
I so move.
And I'll second that.
Discussion?
So the bottom line is 130,000, excuse me, trying to speed up here, 130,000, most of which is to the road department.
Yes.
And that doesn't even buy us, I just heard somebody say that doesn't even impact for the negotiations. Did I hear that correctly? So we give them 100,000 now for 18 employees, and then we still have negotiations to do prior to 1 year.
Well, the contract has an it ends in 2022, so we do have to renegotiate it anyway coming up.
But Teamsters 206 would have to accept this wage study.
So,
Okay.
yep.
Which is what they're, right now, like I said, they're just asking for clarification before they make.
Okay. And we have this money in the PILT reserve.
Yes.
I can't even believe I just let reserve come out of my mouth when at Curry County with what we're faced with. And so this doesn't cover employment costs or payroll costs, which is another, that would be another, of the 130, that would be about another 65,000.
No, all the costs are included in these numbers.
Excuse me, thank you, I should have asked that earlier, or
This is the whole package.
thank you, Julie. Okay, that changes the picture for me. So I want to hear from everybody that they understand it's 130,000. Bottom line, as Commissioner Gold said.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And right now, we're just voting to reconsider, and then you would have to have a separate motion after that to adopt the master payroll.
Understand?
Okay.
And without putting you on the spot, there's been a push in Russia to get this done today. And I think you've done remarkable. Are you comfortable with the figures that you've given us?
Yes.
And Council Huddle said anyway, this doesn't really lock us in. I mean, if something, okay, I'm satisfied.
Do you wish to reconsider as well, sir?
Yes.
So the motion is unanimous to reconsider.
So now you're gonna,
If I may, Mr.
okay.
Yes.
That amends 3-year
Yes.
original. Okay.
Down to 1 year.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Further discussion? Roll, please.
Commissioner Gold,
Aye.
Vice Chair Boyce,
Did you have a question?
I'll get a clarification.
Okay. Aye.
Chair Pash.
Aye.
Motion carried unanimously.
Okay, and then a clarification, is this effective July 1st?
Yes.
Or July 8th?
July 1st.
July 1st.
Okay.
With fiscal year, start of the fiscal year.
We
That
don't.
makes it easier.
We don't have an option on that, do we?
Well, we do, but
It'll
Not without making a mess.
understand. Thank you.
all right, so we need another motion to approve the wage study?
Was the
That's what we
wage
just
study.
I'm
did.
sorry, not
The
wage
master
study.
payroll.
The master payroll.
I move that we approve the presented master payroll.
Commissioner Boyce, did you have something for?
Yes, thank you again. Did we need to vote away the extension, the 60-day extension?
We already did that.
We did? I didn't. I wasn't here.
We reconsidered. And
Okay,
you're
same
reconsidering,
thing?
that votes it away.
Okay, so the public knows.
Yes.
All right, thank you. I'll second, Mr. Chair.
Further discussion? Roll, please.
Commissioner Gold,
Aye.
Vice Chair Boyce.
Yes?
Chair Pash.
Aye.
Motion carried unanimously.
Anything further?
And just to clarify that it is, the Roads 206 Teamsters is subject to the approval by their union.
Yes.
Okay.
Would you mind saying that again? I didn't quite hear you.
Implementation of the wage study for Teamsters 206 is provided that they approve it and accept it,
Okay.
the road
yes.
department.
That
And
that
if they
helps a lot.
don't, Mr. Christensen is going to have a talk with them real nice.
Ooh.
Nothing further. This meeting is adjourned.
It would actually be us.